when you're estranged from your family, like I am, having people that you can look up to, that you can inspire you, even if you don't know them, it's really, really great. And she was one of those people for me.
Let me ask a little truth. I'd like to know your point of view.
Gloria Vanderbilt was 95 years old when she died. What an extraordinary life. What an extraordinary mom. And what an incredible woman.
Welcome to Evening TV. I'm Evening Ransom. I wanted to make a video about Gloria Vanderbilt. On the surface, we know all this stuff about, that she was this rich woman and all this stuff, but really she had a lot of experience with narcissistic people. She had really a very tragic life, but she was such an inspiration to me. When you're estranged from your family, like I am, you kind of choose people from afar that you can, they can have as mentors. If you can have people that in person, that's great too. But having people that you can look up to, that you can inspire you, even if you don't know them, it's really, really great. And she was one of those people for me. And this was especially true after my son died, because she also experienced the death of a son. He was 23 when he died back in the 80s. But she had a lot of loss even before that, just as I have. She was the heiress to a shipping fortune. Her family actually, they were not rich people at all originally, but she had like a great grandfather, I believe it was Cornelius, that made a bunch of money in shipping. And involved with her mother. Her mother was very, very young, much younger than the father, and she wasn't really ready to be a mother. And so Gloria was an only child and was basically kind of raised by nannies and things like that. But attached to her was this fortune. And so at one point she got involved in this custody battle. So she got basically estranged from her mother. She didn't know her mother for many, many years. And she was with a woman who was very cold to her, very, really was in it for all the wrong reasons. And so, she was involved with a lot of people that were not putting the child's needs first, a lot of that. And there was a lot of narcissism, a lot of dysfunction in her life. And of course, she also went on to get involved with many problematic men. She was married many times. She was involved with some really famous men, like Frank Sinatra was one. It was Howard Hughes. He was another one. So she didn't marry either of those guys, but they were well-known relationships that she had. She was always much younger than the men, but she did marry a couple of men that were quite abusive.
Todd, who was quite a well-known actress, and she died under mysterious circumstances. And there were sort of rumors around that maybe he had killed her,
Wait a minute. So you got married to a guy who there were rumors that he had killed his former wife?
Yes. Did
that not seem to give you pause?
Well, I thought all he needs is me, to... Sweetheart, I was only 7.
21, she married again and had 2 sons with the legendary conductor Leopold Stokowski.
Anderson Cooper is her youngest son. If you listen to them, it's almost like they talk as though there were just these 2 kids, Anderson and his brother. And so it's, I don't know, there's a little bit of a mystery around the first 2 sons. I don't quite know what happened there, but I do know that he was an abusive guy, and that she had at least one of those 2 sons was very estranged from her. I'm not sure what happened with the other one. That's a little bit of a mystery around that. The love of her life, finally, was Anderson's dad. And he was a real down-to-earth guy, had family, and she, for the first time, really had like a sense of family with him. And he was like a good old boy from some place, he had a regular family and stuff like that, and she just loved him. And so they had 2 sons together, and that was Carter and Anderson. And but then this guy didn't live very long. He died young of a heart attack. And her kids were only, Anderson was only about 10 years old. They were like 10 and 12 when their dad died. And really, really hard on the kids, really, really hard on her too. So, and she had really no family. She had no siblings. She had no her father was kind of an alcoholic. He was long gone, and she had no relationship with her mother. She had, so she really had no real family, and so it's just basically down to her and her boys. Well, anyways, what ends up happening with her at this point is she ends up making this fortune on those jeans. If you know anything about Gloria Vanderbilt, jeans were like the thing back in the 80s or the 70s even, and she made many times over what her inheritance was. So no longer could you say that she was, this spoiled little heiress. She actually never was that kind of a person. She was always busy doing her own thing. She became an artist, an actress, and pursued a lot of things on her own. She didn't sit around being an heiress. She was really, ambitious, and the thing that's really just delightful about her was that she just always had this attitude of, she never soured, she never got jaded, she never got so that she was doom and gloom or expecting bad things, or she's always had a very positive attitude about things, and she would take all these major losses in stride, and they were really big from the time she was a little girl. They were really big losses, big things. And anyway, so she was drawn to problematic men, and so she got involved with the death of her husband. She got involved with a psychiatrist who got her involved with an accountant, and these guys were in cahoots, and they embezzled a bunch of money from her, long story short. And so she made over, many times over what she ever inherited off of her genes and various things, but she lost a bunch to these guys because she trusted the wrong people. She tended to be drawn to abusive people, and it happened many times in her life. And then she became, she started selling her paintings and wrote books and sold paintings, and she's rebuilt her fortune. Well, back in the 80s, her son Carter committed suicide right in front of her, and it's a real mysterious kind of death. He was being treated for depression, but he just graduated from school. I believe he was at Princeton. He just graduated, and he was trying to figure out what to do. It was a really hot July day. My son also died in July, but it was a really hot July day, and he was at her place in New York taking a nap, and he got up and seemed kind of disoriented, and he came and he said to her, "What's going on?" And she said, "Nothing's going on." And then he ran upstairs and out onto the balcony, and she followed him, and then he stepped up to the edge of the balcony, and she said, "Please come back in, please come back in." And he jumped 14 floors to his death, and right in front of her. And it's very moving to listen to Anderson now, because so his mom died at 95. She died at 95, and at 92, she got sick, and just days later died. I mean, she got diagnosed with cancer like 9 days before she died. It was really crazy at 95 years old. And she was selling her paintings and had a really active life well into her 90s, all the way right up until then. And I started an interview just like maybe last year, and it was like she seriously expected like her next love to be right around the corner, or she always expected good things to happen. And I thought that was just inspirational, because when you have as many losses as she's had, and as I've had, or maybe I say it this way, that I look at a lot of people, and if they're doing great and they're hopeful and all that, I think, I wonder how you'd be in my shoes. I wonder how you'd be if you'd been through the things I've been through. You wonder that. Well, with her, I don't have to wonder that. With her, she's been there. She'd been there, and she was really an inspiration. At 92 in her 90s, she was creating art still. She had a close relationship with her son. She was active, social and active, and she loved life, and she expected good things, and she focused on the positive. She'd been burned by people, she'd been abused by people, but she'd also been loved by people, and she'd also had great things happen and great memories. You know, she'd had the whole thing. She'd lived, you know, she'd lived, she'd loved, she'd lost, you know, it was a full life. And to hear her talk about it, it was just, she was just one of those people that you just were so inspired by. And sometimes you can think, oh, you know, like I had a grandmother that was so, she was so appreciative of small things. And I thought that had to do with her being that she was always poor. But Gloria Vanderbilt was that way, and she was wealthy, you know, but she really appreciated small things. For anyone who's had a hard life, who has been estranged from their family, who's had narcissistic mothers, who is, you know, didn't get motherly love, didn't get fatherly love, didn't, you know, she had nobody. She did not have a mother, a father, siblings, nothing. And you know, and she had been burned by many men. She'd been, you know, business partners, husbands, and even children. I think even children. She had something bad go on with her children, and the two oldest boys, and then of course she lost his son to suicide right in front of her. You know, but she had a full life, a really full life, and was an inspiration. And you know, I would feel very blessed if I could live like she did.
The last few weeks, every time I kissed her goodbye, I'd say, "I love you, Mom." She would look at me and say, "I love you too. You know that."
And I did.
And she was right. I did know that. I knew it from the moment I was born, and I'll know it for the rest of my life. And in the end, what greater gift can a mother give to her son? Gloria Vanderbilt was 95 years old when she died. What an extraordinary life. What an extraordinary mom. And what an incredible woman.
Thank you so much. Give me a like on this video. It's a free way you can help me out. And put in the comments if you knew anything about Gloria Vanderbilt, or who inspires you. You know, who inspires you? Who keeps you going? Who's your North Star?